All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, I can pushing this truth as sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. All right, so we're back out here with another weekly camp lesson, Lord's will is edifying unto the elect, man. All right, so we're going to just jump back into it, prophecies and things like that that's heavily taking place right now on the earth, man. All right, just like the scriptures say about those birth pains. All right, these contractions are coming faster and faster and faster, man. You had a lot of things take place in the news over the week, and we're going to touch on a lot of these different articles and things like that, but pretty much they're all shaping up to say the same thing, man. All right, as you can, like the scripture also say, measure the time diligently in itself, where we can measure where we are according to prophecy. All right, you can also measure the so-called lifespan of this here kingdom, man. All right, how they say it's circling the drain. You can see how much, you got a bathtub full of water, and it starts going down, but once you get to the very bottom, you can start seeing that little whirlwind. And that's pretty much where we are right now. All right, so I'm gonna start out by reading a couple precepts real quick. Then we're gonna get into some of these here articles and we see how these things are starting to shape up. All right, but nevertheless, hey, like I said, there was a lot of different subjects and topics and articles that came out, pretty much showing forth the status of this here kingdom, man. Because this kingdom is getting weaker and weaker and weaker as we go on, man. All right, so we're going to start off here in the book of Revelation, chapter 18. We're going to start at the top. All right, Revelation 18:1. It says, "And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird." All right, and as we've been telling you beforehand, hey, this place is manifesting itself to be what? Babylon the Great. All right, the mother of harlots. All right, this is that golden city. But now it's coming to basically its end. All right, things are being revealed. The son of perdition is being revealed. All right, that wicked man is being revealed, man. All right, nevertheless, you also have on the flip side of that, all right, the children of Israel is also being revealed of who they are, coming back into their power, man, repenting, man. All right, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. All right, so this is, pretty much the overall message that we're giving you, man, but also warning the elect, man. All right, but nevertheless, keep reading on. It says, verse 3, it says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of our fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornications with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." All right, and so that's what we're going to pretty much get into. All right, how a lot of these different nations over the time have pretty much, let me grab this other precept real quick that goes along with that. And let me see, where is it? I think it's Isaiah 33. Yeah, let me read this real quick. Isaiah 33:1, it says, "Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and that dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee." And that's pretty much what you're starting to see going on right now, man. All right, the nations, the weaker nations are now saying they're strong, which Lord's we'll get that a little later. All right, these nations are now looking at Babylon the Great. It's like, yo, man, you went throughout the whole earth plundering and everything else like that. And now all of a sudden, when you so-called try to call for peace on the earth after you've dominated everybody and submitted everybody else unto your power, man, now these nations are starting to bark back up your tree, man. All right, we're going to read a couple of these here articles that, if you understand what's going on and pairing it with the scriptures, man, you'll see that this is a bad position for Babylon to be in. All right, because ultimately all these things are starting to backfire into their face. It's all starting to spew up, man. All right, there's another precept that says, roughly paraphrasing, all that you've labored for, you shall spew it back up. It's in, what is that, the book of Job, Job chapter 20, nevertheless. But nevertheless, going into these different precepts and things like that, we see how the end of Babylon is predicted to be. And we're now at their state, measuring the time diligently. All right, so let me go back to this Revelation 18 and verse 3. It says, "For all the nations have drunken of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornications with her. The merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." All right, let me grab this other precept real quick. Matter of fact, we just turn right to the page. Jeremiah 51:7 says, "Babylon have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad." All right, so hey, man, America had led a lot of these nations astray to follow after their ways and things like that, man. All right, to allow them to set up their, how do I say, their puppet leaders into their nations, all right, and milk these nations, drive their resources and things like that. All right, but now ultimately these nations are starting to wake up and see that, hey, man, we get a better deal on this here other side. You know, we can read that also in the book of Habakkuk. Lord's will, we'll get to it. But nevertheless, hey, man, a lot of these nations are now starting to push them out of their, from, you know, out of their nest. All right, not just, you know, a lot of these nations that they have strongholds over, but also some of their own allies, man. Some of their own allies are starting to turn on them, man. All right, now you're starting to see these things that's going on with the Russia-Ukraine scenario, which is making a lot of these different nations have to pick sides, man. All right, now there's a lot of these different nations that are examining the whole thing. When they're asking them to speak up onto these matters, they're like, look, either A, we don't want nothing to do with this here conflict that's going on in the Ukraine, or B, they're not really siding with America, man, because America's trying to get them to, you know, follow along with their so-called agendas and things like that. And they're like, look, man, we're not flowing with that no more. You had one of these Chinese people call out saying, hey, when they talk about these Western countries, they only, or were they talking about, they use a different term, the international community. All right, they're only talking about basically America and Western Europe and Australia, man. It's not the whole international community. The majority of the globe is not with that, man. So now you're starting to see, you know, Esau being exposed, man. All right, because he's moving in conglomeration with the rest of his nations. But hey, what? Like the scriptures say, the beast shall hate the whore. Even they are starting to come apart, and then how the scriptures say, his tongue shall come down upon his own, it's like his own self, man. All right, so we're starting to see all these things come to pass. So nevertheless, let me read this one more time. We'll grab some articles real fast. Again, Revelation 18 and 3, it says, for all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornications with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, man. All right, through a lot of these different trade deals, through a lot of these different trade deals and partnerships that they have set up and everything else like that, man. All right, these different packs, super packs that they have. But now what are you starting to see a lot of different newer super packs being formed, man. There's one out there, in, you know, with these Asian countries and things like that they're creating. All right, and I forgot how many countries, maybe 30, 40 countries that they signed onto these things, all right? But nevertheless, let's look at some of these different articles, all right? And again, they're going in defiance of what the new so-called sanctions that they're putting on Russia is all about, man. A lot of these countries are backing off of that or making backdoor deals, and ultimately is bringing into, let me go ahead and read this first real quick while we're right here. It's ultimately going to what? To bring in the ultimate end-game goal, which is in Revelation 13 and 16. It says, and he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right, and we're not gonna, you know, let that pass by, because this is the ultimate end-game goal, is what? The mark of the beast. All right, once this here thing is implemented, we know that, hey, when he's about to fill his belly, he's gonna flee from the iron weapon. All right, so right now what you're starting to see is a race to what? To basically implement these, what they call CBDCs. I believe it was last week we spoke about that, how Biden and them was working on these CBDCs because what Russia can so-called counter the sanctions using the CBDCs. And hey, there are some articles speaking about some of those things like that, but nevertheless, you have, there's another article that's out this week. It came out a couple days ago, as a matter of fact, with the Ukraine. It says Ukraine legalizes crypto to raise war cash. All right, so nevertheless, let's touch on it just a little bit. It says Bitcoin and other virtual assets are now legal tender in the country. Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky on Wednesday signed into law a bill that effectively legalizes cryptocurrency in the country. The decision comes as Ukraine has received crypto donations worth tens of millions of dollars from individuals and groups amid the ongoing conflict. So, hey, you know, when you go into a war and things like that, you know, you have on these, see, most of you Americans don't understand, you know, on a larger scale, when you're doing big, super big business, all right, with these, you know, you're more used to your Bank of America's, Wells Fargo, and banks like that, but you have bigger banks than that, man, all right, where you do so-called international trade. When these countries, you know, you send goods from one country to another country, they have to go through their banking systems, which you would know of over here is the SWIFT banking system, all right? That's how you make international trades and things like that. Well, when you go to war with other nations, what do? They freeze your assets and things like that. This is what these sanctions are all about, so they can stop their global trade, which is going to stop their global domestic product, which is going to stop funding. You know, this is basically an income. You know, you got your, you know, you go to work and you get a paycheck to fund your bills at your house and everything else like that. countries in themselves do the same thing, man. But instead of going to work, they do what? They produce something, they create something, and then they ultimately trade it to other nations to bring in a so-called income, all right, to so-called pay their bills in their nation, man, all right, to buy and trade from other people. But nevertheless, if you can cut these things off, let's say, for instance, what the West is trying to do over to Russia is trying to sanction them to the point to where, hey, they can't fund their military campaign no more. All right, they can't fund just the regular bills in Russia, so that they'll collapse economically. All right, if they don't have an economic leg to stand on, then they'll wind up folding. So this is what these sanctions are about. But hey, in a time of war, if you can get around those things, i.e. through these here crypto, see, you got to understand the problem, reaction, solution. All right, this is a race to get onto what? The mark of the beast system, man. Ultimately, you know, let me read it again. It says Revelation 13 and 16, and he calls all, both small and great, rich and poor. Hey, just think about it, man. Over there, you got the digital yuan, which was like the first so-called CBDC to go before they even turned it CBDCs. All right, they was the first pretty much to pretty much have that thing being built up and everything else like that, man. All right, they have the infrastructure and everything else for that system to be up and rolling. All right, so now you're starting to see, like this one says, Ukraine legalizes crypto to raise war cash. All right, so now they're using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. All right, and Biden and them is talking about making their own CBDCs along with what some other countries as well too, man. All right, so look, it's a race between the East and the West to see who's going to get that economic global dominance based off of the currency. All right, because you have right now, which we'll get into in a different article about well, let me finish this here off and we'll read that article, but it's going into what you know of as the petrodollar. All right, so like I'm explaining with all these different things, this is almost like a backbone, one of the backbones to waging a global war, man. All right, you need a couple of things to raise to wage a global war or any kind of war, man. All right, but let alone a global war, man. You need a inflow of money, all right, to fund everything, because you got a band of troops and you can't pay them off. Who the hell gonna fight in your military? All right, you need a massive supply of food. You got a massive supply of troops. You got to feed them some type of way. If you can't feed them, all right, then they gonna just leave. All right, and you need how you call it, basically fuel to fuel all your military equipment. So these are the sectors that you're seeing being attacked right now, man. All right, whether it be the fuel supplies, the food supplies, and the economic supplies, man. But all these different things are working together to implement what? This MOTB, the mark of the beast, basically, man. All right, so let's read it again. Revelation 13 and verse 16, it says, "It calls it all, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." All right, and this is what you know of as you know, those RFID chips, man. All right, being put inside the skin, man. All right, with that information, and also what with your medical records and everything else like that, man. All right, that when you go further into the words, you know, you get the word grapho. All right, and the grapho has that information that's written in there. All right, to show your status and everything else like that, man. So as you see all these things are starting to come to pass, all right, and everything else, hey, like the scripture said, the prophecies are starting to speak and they're not lying. All right, so now you're starting to see these words come off the page in real time. Now you're starting to see all these things being implemented. Now you're starting to see a so-called need for all these different things, man. All right, so it says Revelation chapter 13 verse 16 again, "And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." So hey, man, if you're not going to be able to buy or sell, all right, because why? You know, you may have let's say, for instance, an economic collapse or a hyper inflation, man, and now you need a different way to, you know, if people can't afford certain things in your certain ways, or what, they put sanctions on your banks. Hey, man, we're not taking these dollars no more, man. They got sanctions on this. You can't trade, buy or sell with these things, you know, just like with the Russian scenario, man. All right, their banks are being cut off from a lot of different other international banks and their trade deals and things like that. But now they're actually making backdoor deals with other countries and being able to trade with these cryptocurrencies, just like with the Ukraine, man. They're cutting them off with certain things. They're like, well, look, now we're taking payments in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies and things like that, man. All right, so nevertheless, you know, this is a so-called cause and effect for these things to come into play. All right, so once you see these things, you know, being spoken about and coming off the page and the so-called uses for these things, now you know that what the vision is speaking at the end. All right, so let's go back and read it again. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. "And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 636. all right? But nevertheless, and we know about going into that stigma, man, all right? But nevertheless, you know, not making this here subject too much on that, but hey, ultimately, this is the backbone of where all these things are heading to, man, all right? The implementation of what? This here New World Order, man, all right? And it's going to be ran off of what? A digital currency, and this is what you see in everything being shaping up to. You know, they had that so-called Build Back Better terminology and things like that, man. All right, the global reset and everything else like that, man. So what are they doing to the old ways of life, man? They're getting rid of the so-called old world and bringing in what? The New World Order, man. All right, whereas everybody's going to be ran from top down, man, where they can finally get everybody into a top-down rulership. But nevertheless, not getting too far off topic, but just going back into these articles and things like that. But we see, you know, America's hegemony is starting to get weaker and weaker as we go along with these things. And also, let me read this too, because this is going to go into that as well too. But nevertheless, you see these nations, they're jockeying basically for position to set up the, like I was just saying, that so-called Build Back Better, or a new way of being, man. All right, this is Psalms 2:1. It says, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing?" All right, because ultimately this is the time and the place that we're coming into right now, man. All right, you have, like, we'll get we'll get into these here articles. There's quite a few of them, but the ultimate sentiment of what these articles are saying is what? We're cutting America off from this here, or we're backing out of their deals. We're not, you know, how do I say? We're not not acknowledging or accepting them. We're done with these scenarios, and we're building our own way, man. All right, we're trying to get cut off from these different things. So it says, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointing, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away the cords from us." All right, and ultimately this is, you know, what they're seeing on the horizon. World War III, Babylon is falling, and what they believe that they're going to take Babylon's position at the fall of all these things, but they don't understand that what the Lord has a plan, that the Lord is going to set up the kingdom of heaven as Babylon is falling, man. But what are these other nations are thinking? It says, Psalms 2:1, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing?" Because they imagine that, hey, once this here place goes down, they're going to come back into position, and they're going to set themselves up and rule and, pretty much be at that top seat. This is not so. So let's read it again. Psalms 2:1, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointing, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast their cords from us." So ultimately, this is what they're setting up for. You know, they're trying to set up for a so-called new way, man. New systems and everything else like that, i.e. the New World Order and all these different things that they're planning, and they have their so-called backdoor deals and everything to be set up with, man. All right, but ultimately, these things are not going to go well for these people in the end. So let's read some of these here articles, and we'll get back into this. All right, so like I said, it was a very busy week with a lot of these different things, but hey, it's all got the same sentiment and all the same tone that these nations are speaking about. Let's go back. Let me start with all right, so again, amongst all these how do you call it, sanctions and things like that that's cutting Russia off from these things, what are these other nations saying? You know, there was also a different time. Let me go ahead and grab this right quick, and then we'll come back to it, because I wanted to read this a little later. And the book of Isaiah. Man, I can, well, we'll come back and reread this, but we're going to read it now just to set up the prep, the background of what we're about to read in these articles. This is Isaiah chapter 14, start at verse 4. "Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased and the golden city ceased?" And this is what a lot of these different nations are saying right now, man. All right, this is how these nations are making mockery of America at this point in time, man. Because, again, you have to understand that they would never really talk like this against America and everything else like that, man. All right, they wouldn't, they would be so-called condemned. They would have sanctions put on them. You know, you can look back a couple years when, who was that, who was before, I want to say Hugo Chavez and Ahmadinejad from Iran and them. Whenever they would get up and they would talk at the UN and everything else like that, America and Israel would get up and walk out. But let any of these other nations get up and walk out while America's talking, and then the very next day they'll put sanctions on them, man. All right, you start talking about these American leaders and things like that, they will put sanctions on them. All right, but then now all of a sudden you got Biden and them talking about how Putin is a war criminal and all these different things. But then what these other nations standing up like, wait, what about your 20 years of war in the Middle East and blowing up all those people, man? What about what you're doing to your American citizens right now, starving them out right now, man? Killing off your own population. What are you talking about that right now, man? So people are calling out, the blasphemy that these people are speaking on the rest of the world, but then they looking at like, well, what you got going on at home, man? All right, your economy is collapsing on itself. All right, you got your people all torn apart. They all waging war against all these different things. All right, you got your so-called police, your militarized police that's coming down on everybody else, and they're mistreating your own people, man. So what? What are you talking about? Humanitarian crimes. All right, what are you doing at home, man? All right. So this is Isaiah 14:1 or 14:4. It says, "Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased and the golden city ceased?" All right, and this is what these nations are saying, man. All right, we used to be so-called afraid of you. We used to be so-called in subjection unto you and everything else like that, to where they couldn't say nothing against them, man. They couldn't speak out at the United Nations about them or what they was doing. All right, because they would go over there and say, oh, they got like what they did with what's your boy name in Iraq, Saddam, right? Now, when they accused Saddam Hussein of having weapons of mass destruction, but what do you call a thermonuclear missile, man? What do you call who's the only people to drop a damn nuclear bomb on somebody, man? That was America. But now, if at that point in time, if Saddam Hussein was like, wait, y'all accusing me of having weapons of mass destruction, what about y'all ass? Y'all got nuclear bombs and y'all use nuclear bombs. They would have walked out and be like, nah, bro, you can't say that, bro. But now, all of a sudden, you see what I'm saying? This is what's going on. Now they over here talking about people using chemical weapons. Now it's coming out in the woodwork. So not too long ago, here's another side article. Last week or a couple weeks ago, Russia was over here talking about how America is setting up these biolabs in the Ukraine. Right now, America was like, no, that's a lie. Russia's over here posturing because they're going to use chemical weapons over there in Ukraine and everything else like that. But now you even having your own American agencies coming out saying, yeah, America pretty much got biolabs over in the Ukraine. They don't want them on their own soil, so they just put them over there in the Ukrainian soil, man. So, hey, man, this is what this guy does. He gathers unto him all nations, man. Heapeth unto him all people. But for what reason? Not for no good output. For his own agenda, man. To poison the lands of everybody else, man. All right, hey, he got his own shit over here too, but nevertheless, he goes all the way around the other side of the damn globe, all right, and create chemical weapon plants over there. Like you go back to this whole scenario that you had just spill over in Wuhan, China type shit, man. That was their own plant that they had over there. That's how they knew about all the damn information from Jump Street, man, before it even came out, man. All right, because this was their own doings and everything else like that, man. All right, but nevertheless, continuing on, Isaiah 14:4 says, Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased and the golden city ceased? Matter of fact, yeah, we're going to come back to that. Let me read some of these here articles, all right? Because this is what these articles are going into, man. All right? And we're going to read more of this. All right? And again, you have to understand that they're trying to cut Russia off. But nevertheless, all these things, let me bring out that precept too, man. All these different things are only making it worse for them. This is, and we can come back and read this as well too. I just want to grab Job 18:7-8. It says, the steps of his strength shall be straightened. His own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet. He walketh upon a snare. So ultimately, hey, man, he's bringing his own demise, man. All right, he's setting his own trap, man. It's like a person who set he's in a room by himself and he set a bunch of bear traps all over the place and even in front of the damn door. Like, all right, well, you set all the damn bear traps, cut the light out, and now you got to leave the room. Like, how you going to get out the room without stepping into a bear trap? And if you step into a bear trap and you scream, who you going to be mad at? You the one set these bear traps that you done got caught into your own shit by, man. All right, but nevertheless, what was that old cartoon, what was it, Road Runner, I think it was, Wile E. Coyote, man? All right, the coyote was always trying to catch the road runner, but he would always set the dynamite and everything else like that. And every time he would blow up the dynamite, he'd blow his own self up, man. And that's what you see going on right now, man. Homeboy getting caught in his own traps, his own snares, his own counsel is casting him down, man. His own sanctions that he's putting out on the world is either A, enriching Russia, which we'll read, or B, separating him from his own allies. All right, how I say, deteriorating his military strength, man. So What the hell? Who do you got to blame for all these things, man? It's not these other nations. It's gonna be yourself, man. All right, but what, they'll spin this in propaganda on everybody else, man. All right, now these nations are calling you out for your BS, man. Hey, man, you got chemical weapons labs in our countries, and now these nations want to say something about it. Now you want to put it on somebody else. Like, nah, bro, these is your labs, man. All right, now these viruses get spread around the whole globe. It's gonna be your fault, man. Now the world's starting to see you for the damn demon that you really are, man. You can't blame this on everybody else, man. All right, this devil is going forth deceiving the whole earth, making him seem like he's the saint of the world, but really he's the one creating all these plagues and pestilence and famines and hunger. Hey, man, this is his job. Let me read that real quick, real quick, and we'll get into these articles. But nevertheless, this is what this was his MO to go forth to do all these things. This is Revelation 6 and verse 4. It says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. All right. Let me read verse 8 as well. It says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death. All right. And that's his whole MO, man. Hey, no matter where he go, wherever he step his little red ass foot, man, death and hell follow. Let me read. Let me keep reading. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. So no matter where he go, no matter where he bring his military, if he come over there talking about he about to bring democracy, freedom, liberty, anything like that, just know that your country about to go through death and hell and torment, man. No matter, he never went over to no damn country and made the country better, man. All he does is destabilize his nations, man. In fact, he destabilized the whole planet. The whole planet was in unison, man. We didn't have all this pollution and poison and how you call it, he even polluted the minds of the people, man. All right, he's got everybody in turmoil. This is what you have, what they call divide and conquer, or where he separate the minds of all these different people, man. All right, well, all his propaganda and everything else that he's spewing out throughout the minds of these people, man, through his media and his technology and things like that, man. He's the creator of all these different things, man. You know, they got that documentary, not The Social Network, it's called The Social Dilemma. All right, and now these people that created all these damn social media apps, now they coming out to realize that they was the damn creator of this death and destruction tool. Now they all lamenting about these different things. But hey, man, who the one put all these things out there, who separates all the people, create all this here turmoil in these people's minds, man? All right, this destruction in their minds, man. All right, this is the same devil that we talk about that do this on a global scale, man, destabilizes whole countries, man. All right, Revelation chapter 6 and verse 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, his military, and with hunger. All right, and he also does that with creating famines and destabilizing countries with economic destabilization, man. Putting sanctions on different nations and things like that, man. Creating wars and things like that. All right, you got the wheat supply, where you get a majority of your wheat from over there in Russia and Ukraine. Oh, that's being destabilized right now because of the conflict that's going on over there, man. So now you have food prices going up, oil prices going up, gas prices going up. All right, because somebody wanted to stick their nose in somebody else's business, man. He don't want to stay at home, man. He wants to do all these different things, man. But what is it doing? It's just destabilizing the whole order of the whole planet, man. All right, we'll grab another precept real quick after this. Revelation 6 and 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, or his military, and with hunger, destabilization, economically, and, you know, with just the foods and everything else like that. And with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Hey, man, because this guy has his chemical weapons, all right, his technology, all his different tools and methods of madness, man. All right, stirring it up into the minds of the people and everything else like that, man. This man is going forth and just destabilizing the whole earth. That's what I wanted to grab real quick. Let me grab this real quick, and then we're going to get into these articles. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 24, and verse, I want to say 4 and 5. Yep, Isaiah 24 and verse 4. It says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languish and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish, man. All right, and who is destabilizing? Well, let me read the next verse. The earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they transgressed the laws and changed the ordinance and broken the everlasting covenant. So because you go over there and destabilize everything, get everything out of whack, the whole earth is fading away. The whole earth is mourning. The whole earth is in decay, man. All right, people think that they have all these different options and things that lead them to happiness and all these different things. But what is it doing? It's leading you to your own destruction, man. All right, again, you can look at all these different things. He gave it to you with a smile, man. He gave you what? Social media with the smile and everything else like that. Oh, it's for you to keep in contact with your friends, keep in contact with your family. That's what everybody's excuse. Well, I only got this to keep in contact with my friends and everything else like that. Months and years on down the road, oh, everybody in my business. There's so much beef and everything on these social media. All these social media trends has got people doing this and doing that. The filters got people have unrealistic views of themselves, man. All right, these things are just controlling the minds of the people. They're putting certain ideologies in people's minds and everything else like that, man. All right, so hey, these things are disrupting the minds of everybody else, man. Not just that, they're media and propaganda, man. Having people believe in things that's not even actually true, man. All right, you have you have people that's believing that certain events are taking place a certain type of way. But hey, man, these are just films and pieces of movies that people are putting up. You have what, crisis actors and things like that. Hey, all these different things. Why? Because people are so-called seeing them on these things that people was giving it to them as a so-called tool, but it's become pretty much a hook into their jaw, man. Something to bring them down with, man. A trap or a snare. All right, but nevertheless, let's go back. Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 4 says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languished and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. So again, going into all these different things, man. All the people who thought that they so-called had everything good and everything was all, oh, this was all popping. This was for our good. Hey, another thing, man. You know, people wanted the convenience of a lot of different things. I was speaking on this the other day about, bread. Back in the olden days, you had to buy bread 2 and 3 times a week, man. All right, because your bread would sit there and mold all extra quick. Nowadays, you can have bread for months on end, man. I got a damn bread box at the house, and sometimes forget I even have bread at the house, and go back in there and be like, damn, when did I buy this bread? It's like months ago or something like that, and the bread ain't even molded, man. All right, because it ain't even real bread, man. All right, the same with your fruits and your vegetables, man. All right, you normally couldn't keep fruits and vegetables in your house longer than a damn week, man. They would go bad. But nowadays, you can have fruits and vegetables for months and months on end, man. Because why? It's all GMO'd out now, man. Why you have people that's going for so-called whole foods, non-GMO products, man? All right, you cutting onions and shit like that. You can be sitting there cutting onions, no gloves on, raw with just your hands, cutting onions and rubbing your eyes, and nothing happens, man. Beforehand, if you was somewhere in the living room and somebody in the kitchen cutting onions, man, you got tears running all down your eyes, man. Now they got what, tearless onions and things like that. But who did all these things, man? How did they do all these things, man? They destabilized the whole damn earth with certain by changing the ordinance and things like that, creating new things, man. But what is this ultimately doing? It's destroying every damn thing, man. But nevertheless, this is this damn devil that's doing all these different works. But let's get back into these here articles, man. Because ultimately, like I said, man, his own doing is bringing him into his own demise, his own traps, man. These things are all gonna catch him up and bring him down, man. All right, so let's get back into these here articles real quick. All right, so going back to these sanctions and things that they're putting on their adversary. All right, they're trying to stop their adversary from being able to so-called prosper. All right, they're trying to stop their adversary from trying to so-called, they're trying to wage a war. So they're trying to, put them in a siege, man. In the older days, you would, before you go in and start a hot war, hacking at each other with the swords and things, you would put the nation under siege, man. You would cut off their food supply, their water supply, so that what? They can't trade, they can't bring in no money, they can't feed their soldiers, the soldiers would be all famished. Then they would just go in and slay all the people, man. You can go look up what they did to the children of Israel and what Masada, all right, where they want to put them at siege and everything else like that, then just went up in there and just started slaying them at the end all be all, man. All right, but nevertheless, this is what they do in modern day times, man. They put sanctions on these nations, man. All right, again, the so-called bankrupt the nations. But like we read earlier, all right, his own counsel is going to cast him down. His own doing is going to come back upon him, man. All right. So it says India looks to boost non-dollar trade with Russia. All right, the transactions to be carried out in rupees and rupees and ruples. All right, so hey, you trying to sanction Russia with with trade with these other nations and everything else like that, and telling these other nations, hey, you can't use this here SWIFT system, like I said before, this background banking system to create the portal to make this here transaction go through. All right, it's just like you trying to order something online, but you can't really use cash online to order something from Amazon. So you need either what? Visa, debit. You need something like that to transact. But if they say, look, we're not taking Visa no more. We got sanctions on Visa, sanctions on American Express, Discover, MasterCard, and so on and so forth. You would have to create a whole nother portal of making that transaction go through. Because again, you can't take a dollar bill and put it into your cell phone and make the transaction on Amazon. All right, you would need a new portal, like i.e. cryptocurrency, more or less to say, man. But here, hey, they trading with the Russian currency, man. These nations is like, so what if we take the Russia? What y'all gonna do about it? All right. We're not gonna sit here and go bankrupt because y'all want us to follow after these things, and then we don't get no benefits from y'all, man. All right, all we get is the only thing we get in return from y'all is we get y'all ass to kiss, man. We tired of kissing y'all ass. We don't get nothing out of it but bowing down into y'all people, man. All right, we want to live autonomously. We want to live, how they say, sovereign, man. We want to be our own sovereign country without y'all dictating what we can and can't do, man. All right, how the hell are we our own sovereign country when you can tell us what we can and can't do, man? This is why, again, we read, he heapeth unto them all nations, man. Heapeth unto them all people, man. For what reason? Not to walk side by side with these nations, but to reign over top of these nations, man. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, man. He's reigning over top of these nations, man, taking peace from the earth, man. All right, this is what this damn devil was going forth to do. See, most people are thinking about dying and going to hell and living under this damn devil, and devil tormenting your soul. But look at how the earth is being ran right now, man. The whole earth is being turned into a big ass hell, and these people are being oppressed in their own home, man, and with their own nationalities and their own heritage, man. You oppressing people all the way across the globe with their own shit, man. Telling them they can't use their money, their currency, can't trade their goods. They have to be subjected to being a poor nation. You want a great example of that? Look at Cuba, man. These people are frozen in the damn 50s because of the sanctions that America put on them because what? Russia decided to put their missiles 90 miles off the coast of America and Cuba. So what? They didn't put sanctions on them, and hey, look at them now. But then when America go and try to roll up in the Ukraine and put their damn military over there and their missiles over there, now all of a sudden it's a problem, man. Oh, Ukraine can do whatever they want to go and do. Russia said, hey, they wasn't saying that y'all have to come back into us. We just want to make sure that y'all stay neutral between Russia and America, that y'all don't go over to NATO. But then America says no. So, okay, what you force Russia to do? You force their hand, man. All right, your council is casting your own self down, man. Your council is creating enemies where you didn't have enemies beforehand, man. All right, so let's go ahead and read this. It says, India looks to boost non-dollar trade with Russia. Transactions to be carried out in rupees and ruples. The world's third largest oil consumer, India, is considering buying Russian crude and other commodities at discounted prices using domestic currency. This comes as the U.S. is encouraging countries to avoid trading with Russia amid the conflict in Ukraine. So, hey, what are these? You see what I'm saying? These countries get a benefit of a discounted prices on oil, all right, if they just don't listen to America in this scenario. Because who is this really harming? If, let's say, if India follows with Russia, what's going to do? Harm Russia. But at the end all be all, if we don't harm Russia, they can get a better quality of oil, right? They get a better quality of this here stuff at a cheaper price, man. And this is what these nations are looking at. This is the conflict that they have, even with Germany and them. It's like, well, all right, so let's weigh the pros and the cons. If we stay with America with the Germany situation and the Europe situation, we got to sit here and follow them and go with them with this NATO bullshit, man. Whenever they want to go and invade a country, we got to go send our troops, our resources, our men, and go fight war with them, and we don't get none of the plunder, none of the benefits with them, man. And as you can see right now, hey, what NATO is saying, look, we don't want to enact no no-fly zone over there. This is not a NATO war. NATO is trying to get the fuck away from this. But what does America say? Nah, we're going to go 10 toes down with this bad boy, man. But see, now these nations are getting the benefit. It's like, yo, we getting this here oil at a discounted price. So what it is forcing these nations, giving them the option to go and buy this here Russian oil and the Russian money, which is going to strengthen them, putting money in Russia's pocket. All right, now they got trade partners with them, cutting them off from the American titty, man. All right, let's read another one. It says, here's another article. We'll see if we can grab that again in a different one. Here's another one. It says, because you had, what was it, last week, who was it, the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. They're supposed to be on a phone call with President Joe Biden, all right, but they didn't answer the phone for his ass, man. But guess who they answered the phone for? They answered the phone for Vladimir Putin, and they talked to him, all right? You had these different things where they was over there with the dude that got killed over there, Khashoggi, right? They was trying to keep that under wraps and everything else like that, the little journalist. They was trying to keep that under wraps. That's their own dirty business and everything. But what, America had their nose in that. They had to come out with the woodwork with them killing their journalists. It's not like America don't kill none of their political opponents and things like that, man. All right, but nevertheless, we ain't going to talk about the whole, this dude who had his own little child island where he had his own little plane and dealing with all these other folks. But when he got caught and was about to spill the beans, America had to go kill, their political opponents. But see, ain't nobody going to talk about that, right? But see, when the Saudis go do this, y'all got to have y'all nose in their business. Now it's backfiring on y'all. See, y'all had to expose all these things. So now it's like, you know what? We're going to snub America when they really need us at this point in time, man. All right. And they also trying to curb the oil distribution, which is going to, kind of curb, their income, basically. And America, not too long ago, was threatening them like, yo, man, we could pull out of Saudi Arabia at any point in time at this point right now, and they will fall within a week, man. Their military is nothing without our military equipment over there and us gaining their military. So they was like, oh, y'all would do something like that. So they remember all these things that they saying, man. All right, China remembers what Joe Biden was saying about Xi Jinping or whatever his name is, man. All right, they remembering all this rhetoric and BS you've been spewing about these people. Now it's coming back up into your face, man. All right. So it says Saudi Arabia considers selling oil in yuan. All right. So hey, again, let me read a little bit of this here article. Top oil producers distance itself from petrodollar hegemony. Right. And again, if you know what the petrodollar is, reach into your wallet and bring out any of the American currency that you got in your wallet, man. That's what the petrodollar is, man. All right, you have to understand that in order for any of these nations to be able to buy, sell, trade, refine, do anything with oil on the planet Earth, they need to use American dollars to create this here transaction, man. All right, so nevertheless, hey, man, this is how America becomes super rich, man. They don't have no real exports to export. They export weapons, all right, media, and what is America? Weapons and media basically is all that they export. But other than that, they use these American dollars. All right, so hey, you know, two countries want to, you know, let's say China and Saudi Arabia, China want to buy oil from Saudi Arabia. China has to go and get American dollars to be able to make that transaction go through. All right, and once they do that, what, America don't want those dollars back. So China will go to America like, give us $100 million, right, so that we can go and buy $100 million in oil. But America don't want that $100 million and $100 bills back from China, man. What they want is $100 million in trade from China, man. And really, they just devalue that, so they wind up getting pretty much double that. So they're like, look, instead of that $100 million, your product is only worth, you know, half of that. So you're gonna have to give us basically $200 million worth of trade in products, man. Look on your shelves, man. This is why every item that you see pretty much comes from outside of America, man. You may see some things that say assembled in America, but the majority of your things was made outside of America. This is why, because why? They have the petrodollar. This is what it means by hegemony, man. All right, you have that global dominance, that global reach over every damn thing, man. You control everything. You have a monopoly over all these different things, man. You know, you look at, for instance, you go into Walmart, all the different products that you see in Walmart, Walmart itself has a hegemony on these small mom and pop stores, so they can just go in and buy them out, man. Google does the same thing. You come out with a great app or something else like that that goes against, you know, the Google and all these other YouTube, you know, you create you a new YouTube type platform, a new texting type platform that's away from the government. And Google, what does Google do? Oh, we'll go and buy it for $1 billion. You ain't never seen $1 billion in your whole lifetime. They can go shit out $1 billion and make that $1 billion back the next day, man. Just so they can have control over that, man. That's that real hegemony, man, that dominance, man. But America has this over everybody else because, why? They need this here petrodollar to be able to buy, sell, or transact in oil anywhere on the planet Earth, man. All right, they had this sign in a place. All right, so it says Saudi Arabia is considering selling some of its oil to China in the yuan rather than the dollar. People familiar to the matter told Wall Street Journal on Tuesday, citing active talks between Riyadh and Beijing. Such moves could further marginalize the petrodollar paradigm that has controlled the global financial system for over half a century, placing the dollar status as the international reserve currency at risk. All right, so hey, this is going into what? Babylon is falling and falling. All right. As we read a little earlier, hey man, this is what's going on right now, man. All right, let's go back to that Isaiah 14 and 4. It says, "Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased, and the golden city ceased? Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the ruler. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth." All right, so hey man, as the time that these nations are starting to back off the American dollar and things like that, and these sanctions are going up against Russia and these other nations that would dare to defy America and things like that, man. None of these other nations are really trying to so-called double down and how do I say, enforce these measures against these other nations, because why? They seeing the benefit for their own self, man. They cutting their own ties from these different things, man. They starting to see the golden city ceasing, man. They starting to see Babylon starting to wax worse and worse and worse day in and day out, man. Now it's looking like it's prime for the taking, man. All right. Let's go back. Let me read a little bit of this one, all right? Because this is going into, starting, with the beast hating the horde. These are one of America's allies. Now, what? Germany recently said that they're trying to get up off of that Russian oil and Russian was it crude by the end of the year, basically. But nevertheless, when it comes to this basically natural gas, that's a different story. So it says Germany. Now this is one of the big arguments between what the Nord Stream 2 pipeline and everything else like that. So it says German electric utilities revealed Nord Stream 2 plans. So hey, what you had with this scenario was, you had Nord Stream 1 and 2, but nevertheless, Russia and them just invested billions of dollars into this scenario, man. So you invest billions of dollars into something. Think about this, man. You invest, let's just say hundreds of thousands of dollars into buying some land, all right, building up a house and everything else like that, and you built you a house from ground up, nice house, real nice house. Then all of a sudden, you contracted this with some people. You contracted a deal with some home builders and everything else like that. You told them, hey man, here's $400,000 or $500,000, go get the job done. Now they finally come up and they build your house and everything else like that. But then ultimately, at the end all be all, they come up and then guess what? Oh, they didn't get the proper paperwork to get your house built and everything else like that, man. They didn't get the proper forms filled out and everything. So now your house is being, how do they say, your house is being condemned because you didn't get the proper paperwork, man. All right, so ultimately at the end all be all, they wound up coming over like, look, this was illegally built. You got to go ahead and destroy this here house, man. All right. So it says E.ON won't pull out of the Russian gas pipeline project. Europe's largest operator of energy network, E.ON, said on Wednesday that it has no plan to withdraw from the Russian-led Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline project. All right. So hey, they not trying to leave up out of there. It says Germany suspended certification of the pipeline after the start of the Russian military operation in Ukraine. We're not considering withdrawing from the Nord Stream. This is an asset that cannot be sold. We cannot give it to the main Russian shareholder for free. All right. So hey, ultimately they didn't invest it into something. They're not gonna just let that thing go, man. All right. So this is how do I say pivotal. It's how do I say, they need this here scenario, man. They've already invested into this, man. They put the money forth, and this is where they're getting their energy from, man. They can't just let this here go, because why? They'll wind up quote unquote starving to death out there, man. All right. Oh, there was like two more I wanted to read. Here's a different one. All right, it says India buys more Russian oil despite U.S. threats. All right, hey, so again, these nations are now starting to back away from these things. Let me read this last one right here. All right. It says U.S. dollar is a huge black hole, experts say. So you're starting to see all these people moving away from these. Basically, it's like she's got a stink, man. All right. It says the greenback threatens to swallow up the wealth of both countries and individuals, according to Wang, can't even pronounce his name. U.S. has violated major principles of the capitalist market and economy and poised to break the global political and economic order. A senior researcher at China's Institute told Russia RIA news agency on Thursday. According to experts, Saudi Arabia and the U.S. other Middle Eastern allies have grown dissatisfied with actions of Washington in recent years. Today, America is unreliable and untrustworthy, he said, noting as the reason why Riyadh and Beijing has accelerated discussions on the issue of crude settlements in the Chinese yuan. If the talks succeed, they will have profound impact on the Chinese-Saudi oil cooperation, international monetary relations, and the entire financial order. All right, so hey, ultimately going into these things, as you can see, let me read this last little paragraph. It says the dollar has turned into a huge black hole, which at any time could destroy the wealth of countries and individuals, he said. So basically going into these here things, man, these different nations, like I said, they were starting to wake up, of this basically this, how do I say, this Babylonian juice that they've been drinking, man. All right, the nations have drunk that for a while, and therefore the nations are mad. So now we're starting to see, ultimately these nations are starting to see America for what it really is, man. All right, that great whore. So let's go back. Let's read this real quick. Finish this here off. In Revelation 18. Revelation 18 and verse 1 again. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. It says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. All right. It says, the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. The merchants of the earth are waxed rich. through the abundance of her delicacies. So, hey, these nations eventually started out, waxing rich by following that. They took the bait, the Babylonian juice, man. They was sitting up, so-called propped up, and sitting up top for a while, man. All right, but ultimately now they starting to see what their, how do I say, their, how you put it, their, uncontrollably overspending and printing their dollar, devaluation of their own dollar and everything else like that, man. All right, what they've been doing with this petrodollar, how they're starting to, they're getting a bad deal basically from dealing with these here American dollars and everything else like that. They're getting a bad deal following out after with NATO and everything else like that. They're being drugged into these different wars and these different things, and it's destroying their economy. So nevertheless, they don't want nothing to do with these things, right? So let's go back. Revelation 18:3 says, "For the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth committed fornications with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through her, the abundance of her delicacies." All right, it says, "And I've heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues." So ultimately, this is going into, twofold for us. Hey, man, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. All right, and also, when the Lord say, come up hither. All right, but nevertheless, as far as, these nations are now starting to go to their own homes, all right, leaving America and everything else like that, man. All right, let me, let me keep reading on down. We'll go to Isaiah 14 with this as well too, because backing up with the same thing, man. These nations are starting to back up off of America. They starting to see America starting to fall, man. They starting to see all these things falling down the drain for them. It says, oh man, do we got enough battery? Or we'll make it work. Going back, Revelation 18 and verse 4, verse 5. It says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities." So, hey, ultimately, well, let me keep reading. It says, Revelation 18:5, it says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities." So, hey, ultimately, all these different things that Babylon have been doing to these other nations, now it's starting to come back up, man. This here vomit is starting to spew back up, man. You've been drinking. Now it's starting to catch up to your body. Your body's starting to realize, yo, you done put way more than what you can handle inside your body. And now what? Your body's starting to reject all these things, man. Now all these nations starting to reject all these things because why? You've plundered and plundered and plundered and plundered, and now it's all coming back up on you, man. All right, let me go and grab that, and this is going back. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5, it says, "Yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, and neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and his death cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people." So again, going into these here scenarios, why is he gathering all these nations unto him, man? Why does he have everybody up under his watch? Why does he have everybody under his rule? Why does he want nations like Ukraine up under them? Not to so-called liberate the Ukrainian people. There wasn't no war over there until they went over there, man. They was perfectly fine, but he went over there and started destabilizing these here countries, man. Same with in the Middle East, man. There wasn't really no wars going on over there in the Middle East and things like that until he took his ass over there and started destabilizing all these different things, man. All right, these are the things that he wound up stirring up the hornet's nest, and now he want to start crying wolf now. All right, but these are his own doing because why? Like the scriptures say, hey, he was sent forth to take peace from the earth, man. All right, he was sent forth to destabilize the whole, turning of things upside down, man. This is what he wound up doing. So going back, Habakkuk 2 and 5, it says, "Yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, and neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and his death cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and unto him all people. Shall not," it says, "shall not all these take up a parable against him, a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." So, hey, man, you over here increasing that which is not yours, man. You and all these other nations stealing all their resources and everything else like that. But nevertheless, hey, you don't take into account that these nations may say, one day say, bro, why you always got your hand in my cookie jar, man? Why are you always stealing our resources? Why are you always over here destabilizing our you got your hand in our business, like with the Nord Stream 2, Europe and Russia, man. Why does America got the say-so on what's going to benefit Germany and Europe with those things, man? How is America going to tell them that they can't have natural gas flowing to them, good, clean, cheap natural gas, not cheap, but a cheaper price, higher quality natural gas into their country, man? How do you get to say that, you can't get this so-called benefit from these here deals with these different nations. All right, but nevertheless, they got their nose in everybody else's business, and this is now what these nations are saying. Hey, man, let me keep reading. It says, verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him, a taunt, a proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and how long to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. So, hey, you increasing in that which is not yours, man. Again, you always got your nose in somebody else's business. You always got your nose, in somebody else's back door, telling them what they can and can't do in their own house, man. All right, trying to reign over top of these people, man. This is what it's like having hegemony over these other nations, man. When you got control, just like when they say Esau can be racist, but Jake can't be racist because we can cuss you out and call you all kind of names under the book. But he got the power to sit there and say, look, your kids can go to school in this area and you can't. You are allowed to get this type of loan. You are allowed to live in this neighborhood. You are allowed to get this type of car, this type of vehicle, and everything else like that. You allowed to drive around in nice cars, and you are not allowed to drive around in these nice cars. But nevertheless, that's so-called hegemony. You have power and dominance over other people to be able to control what they're going to do and what they can't do, man. Tell somebody where they can live and where they can't go, man. Where they can travel at, where they can't travel at, man. This is having real power and real dominance over everybody else, man. So if you have the power to be able to sanction other nations, all right, tell them who they can and can't trade with, that's having hegemony over these different nations, man. If you have the power to sit there and put a sanction on somebody, you have power and dominance over these different people. If you have power to so-called back these sanctions and everything else like that, because think about it, any nation can really sanction any nation, but who has the power to so-called enforce those sanctions, man? Cuba can sanction America, like, oh, anybody want to trade with America, we're going to put sanctions on y'all, we're going to cut y'all off from trade, but who the hell cares about that, man? Ain't nobody really trying to deal with Cuba like that because they know that they're going to get sanctioned by America, and these sanctions going to really hurt, man. So who has this actual dominance and this different power, man? Who actually has the ability to put these different nations in subjection, man? All right, who is in this here position, man? The scriptures say the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof, man. All right, you have to go and use his language, his currency, his way of being, all right, to do anything on the planet Earth, man. You have a so-called United Nations and things like that, but who is ruling that, man? Who has that under control? Who has that under his thumbnail and everything else like that, man? It's Esau Edom, all right? But nevertheless, continuing on, it says, yea, because he transgresses by one. Hey, we got to all listen to this. We need to all come together, have a united front, United Nations, a united council and all these things. But, hey, he's the top dog of all these things, man. He's reigning over, he gathered unto him all these different nations so he can rule over top of them, man. All right, this is what he does, man. This is the damn devil. He was taking peace from the earth, man. This is his whole MO. This is what he was supposed to be doing, man. And what he's playing his role out to a T, man. All right. It says, he is a proud man and neither keepeth at home, man. Again, man, going into being that proud man, man. Hey, how the hell is you over somebody else? This is what these other nations are saying. I didn't even bring out that article, but man, I might have to grab that article. That was a cold article. But they was talking about the dude in let me see if I can grab this article real fast. I think it came out yesterday. Yep. So this one here says South African president blames NATO for Ukraine. It says the president Cyril, can't pronounce the last name, said that the bloodshed could have been averted if the U.S.-led bloc hadn't increased instability. All right, and how did they do that, man? They took their ass over there, man. Neither keep it at home, man. Fitting the description to a T. South African President Cyril, I can't pronounce the last name, a potential mediator in the Russian-Ukraine conflict, has faulted NATO for triggering war in the former Soviet Republic by expanding eastward on Moscow's doorstep. The war could have been avoided if NATO had heeded the warning from amongst its own leaders and officials over the years that its eastward expansion would lead to greater, not less, instability in the region. All right, so they basically telling you, hey, man, these provocations of what you're doing is basically leading, into more instability, not more peace, man. They talking about, oh, well, we need to increase NATO, the NATO front, so that we can have more stability, all right, and more peace out here, man. But ultimately, it's just bringing what? More instability, more war on the war front, man. The whole Ukraine scenario is because, wow, NATO kept expanding, putting more and more weapons over there, man. There was another article about going into these things where China was blasting them, saying, look, man, we've been sending humanitarian aid, food, sheets, milk, water, and things like that. What have y'all been sending over there? Weapons, more and more weapons to increase the gunfight and everything. Canada just said that they had to stop sending more and more weapons over there because they may not have enough weapons to fight their own battles if push comes to shove. So ultimately, these things are coming out to the forefront. That what? This is that beast that's taking all the peace from the earth, man. It says rather than reaping and expecting peace dividends after the Cold War ended in 1991, NATO expanded, adding former Warsaw Pact nations and ex-Soviet republics to its fold, starting in Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic in 1999. Another wave came on board in 2004, including Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Albania, Croatia followed in 2009. Then came Montenegro in 2017, North Macedonia in 2020. Ukraine and Georgia have asked to join the bloc. So if you was to look at this on the map, what would you see? You would see that NATO was increasing closer and closer towards Russian doorsteps, man. Provocating this whole thing, just like these nations are starting to wake up and see, man. We can grab that as well, too, if we're still there. Yeah, we'll finish this off and we'll go back and grab that. But nevertheless, you know, them increasing, you know, they're, you know, keep, you know, staying in somebody else's back doorstep, man. All right, and increasing their territory and things like that is causing this instability, man. All these different things are bringing them down to their own demise, man. All right. Going back up to Habakkuk 2 and 5, it says, yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire is hell, and is his death cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and how long to him that lays himself with thick clay. So in twofold, we just seen how basically, let this madness, he didn't fuck this shit up. Let this madness go on. It sound like it's done for. But nevertheless, you know, him that increaseth that which is not his, man. All right, how long you gonna keep going up into these other nations and plundering them? Don't you think, well, that's the next verse. But, and him that laid himself with thick clay, man. All right, again, now your dollar, like they said, man, hey, man, your unresponsible spending, more or less to say, man, you being not careful with your dollar, man, is leading us to just to back away from this here BS, man, because this is not really profiting us no more, man. We got to create our own currency or trade in a different currency that's not backed by you, man, because this is like a trap, a death trap to us, man. At any point in time, you can cut us off from your banking systems and things like that, and we'll wind up starving, man. We need to create a new system, a fair system, so that we don't all have to bow down to your so-called hegemony, man, your whole global dominance, man. All right. Verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him, a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and how long to him that layeth himself with thick clay? Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booty unto them? All right. So, and this is what you're starting to see right now, man. These different nations are waking up from this drunken stupor, man. They're starting to wake up right now and starting to see, hey, what's really going on, what's really popping, man. What's really beneficial for them and what's really detrimental to their nation and their society, man. All right, they're starting to see, hey, America really didn't have, this was that great hoard that all these nations have committed fornications with them, man. All right, they was sleeping around with it, but they realized under the makeup and under all this little outfit and everything else like that, man, this hoard is really full of abominations, man. She's full of a bunch of disease riddled and everything else like that, man. Sleeping around with her is going to just bring death unto you, man. So what, is it really beneficial just because she so-called look good on the outside for us to be sitting here messing around with her? No. This is going to bring us to our own demise. So we need to do what? We need to, how do I say, depart from her, man. We need to break away from her, man. All right, we need to either go back to our own home and make deals with somebody that's more profitable, man. All right, and again, his own steps is bringing them into making these nations, turning your friends into your enemies, man. All right, how you got your friends? You say, hey, yeah, I'd rather die with you, man. I'll do everything with you. I got your back for everything. Then lo and behold, now you come stealing from your homeboy, man. You get caught stealing from this person and that person. Now all of a sudden, you get caught stealing from your job. Now, what is that going to force your job to do, man? It's going to force them to fire you, man. All right, they was fine with paying you to do this here work day in and day out. But when you started stealing from them, now they made, you know what, we got to take your security pass. We got to block you from the premise and everything else like that, man. Because now you've become a threat unto us. All right, and this is your own doings. We didn't come up with this. You came up with this, man. And this is what these nations are starting to do. Back away from America. Call America out now, man. All right. Finishing off, it says, verse 7, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booty unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land of the city, and all that dwell therein. All right, you know, because ultimately, you know, all the different bloodshed and the poverty and the war shit that you wind up causing these different nations, man, sanctioning these other nations, man, thinking of what you've done to Cuba and everything else like that, man. These other nations are starting to see what didn't happen to these other people, and they're starting to take a hold of these different things and everything else like that. So now all of a sudden, they're starting to look up at what you've done to these other nations and what you're doing to their nation, man. So now all of a sudden, they're starting to see what's going on, if it's really beneficial to them or not, man. Got any questions?
I'm just listening.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. We're reading out the Bible, man. So nevertheless, they're starting to wake up from these different things, and they're starting to see what's going on. And now all of a sudden, you know, they're starting to call them out on their bluff, man. All right. So let's go back from there to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. All right, this is going back Isaiah 14:4. It says, Isaiah 14:4 says, "Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased and the golden city ceased?" Now going back, we was reading in the book of Job, hey, his own counsel is casting him down, man. All right, his own works, his own steps is bringing him down to his own demise, man. All right, if it wasn't for, you know, his own doing, like I said, man, you at your job, you start stealing from your job, now they bring you into the office and they got to fire you, take away your security clearance. You can't go home to your wife and be like, you know what, man, the job tripping, they fired me because they just want to be on some BS, man. No, you got caught stealing, man. All right, you got caught with your hand in the boss's cookie jar, man. So now he got to bring down this here judgment on you. Now these nations are starting to wake up to what you're doing to them, destabilizing their nations and everything else like that, and now all of a sudden, take care, man. No, I'm not from.
Where you from?
I'm from Atlanta, man.
Atlanta, all right.
Yeah.
That city slang.
Yeah, man. Take care, man. But nevertheless, you know, these nations starting to wake up from these things, man, and starting to realize, you know, what's going on, man. They starting to realize what's really plaguing them, and it's not the so-called boogeyman that they're portraying. It's actually them, man. All right. Going back, Isaiah 14:4, "Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased and the golden city ceased? Yahweh have broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruleth the nations is in anger is persecuted and none hindereth." So now that these nations are calling out America, now that America's trying to be the big bad wolf and say, hey, we're going to sanction these people, y'all got to follow alongside, these other nations is like, we're not following along with that. If anything, we're going to go over with them, and we're going to get this shit for a discount. You know what I'm saying? Y'all over here raising y'all prices because you want to sit over here and snub the quote-unquote boogeyman. He ain't the problem, man. You the problem, man. All right? You know, you over here got these folks out here like, again, like I just said, man, and how you over here stealing from the damn boss, and now you getting fired for stealing from the boss, and then now you want to so-called boycott this company. Oh, we got to boycott this company because they racist. No, they're not racist, bro. You just got caught stealing, man. Now, all of a sudden, you want to try to bring business somewhere else. No, bro. These nations starting to see through your BS, man. All right? And it also says, and it's persecuted and none hindereth. What nations are now coming to your aid right about now, man? Even your own allies are backing down, and they're saying, you know what? Hey, you know, not to say NATO as a whole, because America's part of NATO and everything else like that, but you see in these other nations, these so-called European nations that's a part of NATO saying, look, bro, we don't want no part of this here war. We ain't got nothing to do with this. We backing up out of this here situation, man. All right, this is basically what Babylon got going on. This ain't on us, man. We don't want the smoke, man. You seen their other allies, Germany and all them. Look, bro, that's on them. We ain't got nothing to do with this, man. So when the shit hit the fan, our name ain't in this here pot with that, man. So none is following after America in this here scenario, man. None is over there with their aid and all these different things. So now what? Their hegemony is falling. Their so-called credentials around the world, the big bad boogeyman is falling, man. All right, well, we're going to continue reading because it goes into that. Verse 7, "The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth in a singing. Yea, the fir tree and the cedars and of Lebanon, saying, since thou hast laid down, no fellow has come up to us. It says, hell from beneath is moved to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations," man. And that's, you know, again, going on in America with their what they call regime change, man. They go and overthrow all these damn nations or kings of these different nations and hijack their damn lands, man. But continuing on, verse 10. "All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us?" All right, we run out of space, but nevertheless, we can, once it stops, we'll delete some stuff. We'll keep it moving. But nevertheless, just gotta watch it. It says, "All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us?" All right, so now, you know, you're starting to see these different nations saying, look, man, go out there and fight them by yourself, man. Oh, what, you can't fight them by yourself? You need all of us with them, man? All right, if we pull out of your so-called leagues and your packs and everything else like that, man, out of your so-called covenants and everything else like that, how you gonna stand on your own, man? If we stop dealing in the American dollar, then what? You'll be just as weak as these other nations out here. You ain't gonna have no real pull out here, man. If NATO and everybody else, if NATO leaves America on their own, what the fuck America gonna do? I mean, they still got nukes. You know, America still got all right military, but if all of NATO and Russia and them come up against America, then what you gonna do, man? You know what I'm saying? And we know, ultimately, according to the scripture, that's how it's gonna end up being, man. Lord's will get into all of that, but nevertheless, this is how it's gonna all end up being. But nevertheless, like I said, man, all these different nations starting to back out and it's starting to look at America like, say something else now, man. You got these South African presidents talking shit to America, like, yo, at any other point in time, America, they wouldn't say nothing like that to America, because America basically could put sanctions on them, overthrow their damn government, and steal their shit, and just basically shit on these nations, man. But guess what? Now all of a sudden they starting to beat their chests at America right now, man. All these nations starting to come together and as a conglomeration and starting to look at America as booty, man, as spoil, man, as prime for the taking, man. So now they over there, you know, like a pack of hyenas, you know. Oh, the lion is taken away from the rest of the pride of lions and everything else, the rest of the pack of lions, and it's outnumbered, it's all maimed, it's all hurt. You know, you was terrorizing us the most of the time, but now you done broke your leg or something like that. Now you out here by yourself. Now this group of hyenas is round about your ass and about to pack you out, man. And that's what you have going on right now. The hyenas are out there laughing, just like in the movie The Lion King and shit like that, man. The hyenas are over there laughing to some Mufasa, ha ha ha. You know, but hey, nevertheless, this is what you're seeing going on. Going back, Isaiah 14:10, it says, all they shall speak unto thee and say unto thee, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, the worm covereth thee, man. All right, going into what? Your so-called decay, man. All right, again, the global decline of this American petrodollar and everything else like that, man. All these different things, your global trade and everything. Again, you don't want to put these sanctions on these other nations, which is making these nations so-called disdain your dollar, man, disdain your trade and everything else like that. You're disrupting global trade around the whole damn globe. So what you doing, putting these sanctions on Russia, is actually affecting economies in other nations. What do you think that they're going to wind up doing, man? Cutting you off, man. All right, so now you're starting to destabilize your own country. What did Putin say? Hey, man, we're going to cut off basically the export of this Russian oil from around the globe. So what did that wind up doing, man? All right, it wound up cutting America, you know, raising the gas prices in America. Then it also forced America to go back and double down on people like Venezuela, man, who they at once point in time sanctioned Venezuela and their oil production and everything else like that. And ultimately, they tried to hijack their country. But then what did they wind up doing? Now they got to go do a backdoor deal with Venezuela to go get some oil from them because, look, they hurt their own damn self, man. This is his own downfall, his own doing. Let me grab that before I finish this here off because it's going to go into that. Where is that? Okay. We started reading this, but we're going to read all the way down because, hey, man, this was going to ultimately bring him to his own demise, his own downfall, man. All right, this is Job 18, verse 7. And all these precepts keep coming out recently because you're seeing, you know, hey, it seemed like this damn devil, he's not going to take heed, man, because he's going to just get it and keep running 100 miles and running with this bad boy, man. He's going to just keep doubling down, doubling down, doubling down, doubling down. But this is bringing him, like we're going to read, to the king of terrors, man. All right, it's just like, you know, you see one of them mosquitoes flying into one of them little purple lights, the zap. He didn't see the light. Not only that, he's starting to get closer and closer. The more he start lusting after that there light, the closer he get into his own demise, man. He ain't going to turn away from it. Even though he hearing all his buddies getting zapped as they going into it, he's not going to turn away from this bad boy. He's just going to fly faster and faster and faster into it, man. All right. So it says Job 18 and we'll start at 5. It says, yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. So, hey, beforehand, you know, he was able to go and make certain moves and to trick certain nations, all right, and to be able to do certain things. But, you know, with his little philosophies, hey, like the scriptures say, the nations are drunken of her wine, all right, therefore the nations are mad. The nations are wax rich after, you know, following after her. But now, this is all spoiled milk, all right? Now, you know, you at the bar, you getting your homies and them drunk with all this here high dollar top shelf stuff. But now, y'all got too drunk. You know, y'all didn't drink all the bottles. But now what you wind up doing as the bartender, you started filling up this top shelf with just straight water. So now you just keep feeding them shots and shots and shots of water out of these top shelf bottles to the point that they start sobering up. They sobered up to the point to where it's like, yo, look, bro, I done had 32 shots since 1942, and all I'm doing is getting sober, more and more sober with each shot, man. And you over here charging me the top dollar for this here BS. Look, bro, now I'm about to come over that counter and go upside your head, man. This is what you're starting to see happen, man. All right, his own wisdom is casting them down, man. All right, verse 6. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and the candle shall be put out with him. All right. The steps of his strength shall be straight, and his own counsel shall cast him down, which we touched on a little earlier. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. All right, because now he's on eggshells. So, you know, think about. Let me read the next one. The gin shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and the trap for him in the way. So, hey, think about this, man. You know, you didn't bigged up your nation and bigged up your expansion with NATO and told them the plan. We got to keep moving. We got to keep moving. We got to keep doubling down. We got to keep doubling down. But now you to the point to where it's like, look, if you know, with the whole Ukraine scenario, you didn't use this as a proxy war to get up into the Ukraine and or to get up against Russia and everything. But now you didn't got them flared up. Russia wasn't, you know, BSing. They wasn't bluffing with they arsenal. Russia started pushing the button on your ass. Now what do you do now? Do you go in and send aid to Ukraine? Do you set up a no-fly zone? Do you send troops in? No, because then you know if you do that, then you're going to be in a conflict with a whole nother nuclear nation, and that's going to be the end all. You know how it ends for you. So you don't want to accelerate that much more faster, but you like a fish who then was nibbling on some bait, and then you didn't snap the bait, and you started, you know, going down super fast. You didn't put this damn hook and so far into your jaw, you can't break loose from it now. Now you fighting, and all that fighting is doing is tiring you out to the point to where it's like, yo, now you're getting super tired. Now you got this hook into your jaw. You can't do nothing, but eventually, hey, to do this with the fishing line, he gonna just wait your ass out till you tired. He not gonna fight against you. Then he gonna just reel your tired ass on in, man. And this is what's going on, man. All right, because look, if America pulls out militarily, if they don't step in militarily, these other nations gonna be looking like, oh, they calling a bluff. They actually scared of Russia. So if we stand with Russia, then, you know, we could always run up under the, you know, the umbrella of Russia, and America ain't gonna come and invade our nation militarily, because we got Russia to stand guard for us, man. Like the scriptures say, be thou a guard unto them, prepare thyself and the nations that are with thee. Now these nations are starting to see, hey, all we gotta do is fall up under that Russian umbrella, and America's not gonna invade us, man. So we can do whatever the hell we wanna go and do, and we ain't gotta be scared of the big bad bully on the block no more, man. All right, and also, hey, if America don't fall through with what they got going on with their sanctions and everything else like that, then these other nations be like, you know what, we don't have to follow with these sanctions and everything else like that, man. So nevertheless, hey, these nations starting to see America for what they're worth, man. They starting to see that their hegemony and their grip on the whole earth is wanting to fall. But look, they caught into their own snare, their own trap. You know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It's just like, you know, the bully. You know, oh, if you don't do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that to you. I'm gonna whoop that ass if you don't give me your lunch money. Or I'm gonna whoop that ass. Finally, the kid got tired of being bullied. Like, look, I ain't giving you shit, man. You're going to have to come and take it from me. Now, the bully is forced to either put up or shut up, man. He's forced now to go over there and push up on the kid and beat the kid up and take his lunch money. But guess what? The bully is in front of the whole school. The whole school is waiting now. It's like, oh, we about to see a fight. Now, the bully is just like, oh, shit. Now, the whole school is about to be, he's about to be exposed to the whole school. The bully can't even fight, man. He's just big as hell for no reason. All he had was that talk, man. He had a big, loud bark, but no bite. So now the whole school is like, wait a minute, we've been bullied by this cat the whole time. We were scared he was gonna whoop our ass. Now we know he can't even fight. Now the least of our fighters can beat the bully up, and he gonna go home. All we gotta do is push him over. He gonna go home crying, mommy. This is what they starting to see on the planet Earth right now, man. So now all these nations are banding together because thou spoiled many nations. Now they getting looking at you like, look, bro, he looking like some food over there right about now, man. He's looking like he's prime for the taking right now, man. He's looking like he's ready to be taking off that their throne, man. All right, it says, continuing on, Job chapter 18, verse 10, the snare is laid for him in the ground, the trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid on every side and shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. So again, hey, pull out if you want to. You know what I'm saying? You stuck. You stuck, man. You can pull out right now. Then what's gonna stop Russia from saying, you know what? See, we was just trying to stop y'all from advancing on our territory. We wasn't on no offensive move. Russia's on a defensive move right now. They trying to stop America from encroaching on their territory. But what if America and their Western partners stop arming Ukraine and stop with all this and capitulate to the scenario and just back off and be like, you know what, we good. We gonna take our ass home. What is that going to cause Russia to do? That could cause Russia to go on an offensive. Like, you know what? We're going to take the Ukraine. We're going to take back our other post-Soviet states, which is going in Ezekiel 38, man. We're going to go on an offense. We're going to start taking all this here land, man. And what y'all going to do about it? You going to come in conflict with us? You know you didn't want that the first time when you only had one nation to defend. Now you got these multiple nations to defend, man. All right? Because really, Russia's got a vast military. They could be fighting multiple wars in a lot of those smaller countries, man. All right? They only sent, I believe, what, 100,000 troops over in the Ukraine to fight that. That's like a small percentage of what they really got, man. All right. It says, verse 13, it shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle. It shall bring him to the king of terrors. So this is ultimately bringing him to his own demise, man. Those thermonuclear missiles, man. It's going to bring him into an all-out war with the other greatest nuclear force on the planet Earth, man, which is Russia, man. All right, him encroaching on this with his NATO increase, like we read. I keep moving to the east after you promised you wasn't going to do that. All this is going to do is bring you out to a world war with the other great nuclear superpower, man. So this is bringing you to your own demise, man. And again, they wasn't on the offensive, they on the defensive, but your own moves have brought them out to the war front, man. All right, and it's also causing your own allies to start to turn on you, man. We can grab that right quick while we're right here. Before we go back. This is Obadiah. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, and they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there's no understanding in him. Because again, we're seeing a lot of these other nations that have so-called made pacts and deals with America. All right, and say, oh, we was gonna ride it out with y'all, we're gonna follow these sanctions. Now they're saying we backing up off for these things, man. We're not really rocking with these things no more because we see a benefit of us dealing with our own nations, trading amongst, you know, European nations are dealing with trading with other European nations, and also thinking about trading with so-called nations that aren't, how do I say, in league with America right now for their own benefits, i.e. Russia. All right, and also, while I'm right here in Revelation 17 and 17, it says 17 and 16. All right, it says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. All right, you know, going into the beast and the whore. It says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So again, going into America's allies, turning on her at the end all be all, man. All right, because of what? Their own doings, man. Their own so-called, oh, because they got a beef with Russia. That Germany got to stop with their pipeline that they got, their pipeline deal that they got with Russia, which is gonna bring energy to Russia, man, or not Russia, to Germany, man, to help out the German people. So who's the German people gonna be sitting there like, look, do we benefit America that's over there, or do we benefit the German citizens over here? You see what I'm saying? We're gonna benefit our own people, man. We're not coming out to keep benefiting them when they just want to keep talking shit to us. You know how Donald Trump was talking shit to Angela Merkel not too long ago, man. They don't give a damn about the people over there, man. They're just using them as a proxy, as a front, man. All right, so let's go back to this Isaiah 14. And let's go back to 11, Isaiah 14 and 11. It says, thy pomp is brought down to the grave, the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, and the worm covered thee. All right, so it says, how art thou fallen from heaven? It says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weakest the nations? It says, for thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. Well, let me go back up. Verse 12, it says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down into the ground, which did weakest the nations? So, hey, ultimately going into this, how art thou fallen from heaven? How did thou fall from thy position at the very top, man? How did y'all fall from all these different things, man? You wound up falling because of your own doings and everything that you had going on, your own plans that you thought that was going to prosper you in these things, but it ultimately brought you down to the ground. All right? We'll grab that next. Let me finish this off. Verse 13, for thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. And so this is what you're seeing going on right now. You know, they're being brought down. You know, they're being brought low. Just like all these other nations. You wind up putting sanctions on these other nations, devouring their economies and everything else like that, bringing them all the way down to the ground. And now this is ultimately happening unto you, man. Your own economy is collapsing, all these different things like that are falling upon you and everything else like that. So now what, the so-called, how they say, karma is coming back upon you in your own face, man. All right, going back to Isaiah 14 and 15, it says, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake the kingdoms, that made the world a wilderness, that destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? Hey, and this is what you have going on right now. You have these other nations now are looking up and say, look, bro, you the one brought this. We just read that article about the South African president, right? He was saying basically in the sense like, yo, bro, you the one brought this here war upon in the Ukraine and Russia about what? Encroaching on Russia's doorsteps and everything else like that. You've been working on this since 1991, man. All right, and invading and hijacking and with your coup d'etats, overthrowing these governments and these different nations on the Russian border, man. All right, you the one started up this here hornet's nest. You're the one that did all these different things. Now you want to blame them as the boogeyman in this here scenario. They're not the boogeyman. You're the one that wound up doing all these things and brought them into this here position, man. All right, but now all of a sudden it's how do I say? Now all of a sudden it's their fault that these things have happened. Now all of a sudden you're gonna put this onto them. No, man, this is what your own doing is doing, man. Is this the man that did shake the kingdoms, that took peace from the earth? Is this the man that destabilized all the governments on the earth? Is this the man that took peace from all the earth, man? Is this the man that did all these different things, man? That caused all these problems, that caused all these conflicts? That's what these nations are starting to say right now. Is this the man that brought on this global economic collapse, global economic trade to come to a halt and all these different things? Is this the man that is destabilizing everybody and got everybody in an uproar right now? This is him and his doings, man. If it wasn't for him, we would all be fine right now. All these conflicts and all these different things that we have going on in the earth is all because of what he has going on and all his destabilization, man. He has his nose in everybody else's business, man. But nevertheless, man, this is what he has going on, man. All right, and he's being exposed to these things, man. All right, let me grab that real quick. There's two precepts I want to grab on that. One, we was just right here. Obadiah chapter 1 verse 6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All right, so hey, man, you know, with a lot of these things coming to the forefront, all right, and him being exposed for all the different things that he wound up doing, you know, these are the things that wound up happening unto him and everything else like that and everything else. So nevertheless, hey, man, these things are being exposed.